This is a Monroe 570 fully automatic 10 key mechanical calculator printing adding machine. It's got all of the words. This is like all the stuff. Um, and just from like first glance, this thing's probably the ugliest, even like print adding machine I've ever seen. This is really, really ugly. It's very large, or it's very long, I guess. It's kind of narrow in the front, but this thing weighs 42 pounds. Uh, I would never have looked at this had I not noticed the fact that there were a few more buttons that I'm not used to with the regular 10 keys, but apparently this was one of the two print mechanical adding machines that Monroe made. Like there were only two models, and this was just a rebadged version of the first model, and that was just a purchase design from another company. I think an Ulta 804, I think. You can tell this is not an American design because we don't use these symbols. I mean, we use some of them, and I thought I understood European keyboard layouts better than I do. But I always, the two dots, I guess, are division in Europe. But now I'm confused because that looks like division, but that also looks like division with an equal sign. Maybe this is the enter dividend. This is the I don't know. And then we also have another equal sign. In my experience, when you're in elementary school, this is the symbol you use for multiplication. And then once you get to middle school, it's like, oh, now we're using the asterisk. But we got both of those, so I don't know what that's about. I'm not even going to bother. I've never used that symbol in math. Um, I don't know what that is. I don't really know what this is either. I mean, it's a number sign, but that seems kind of trivial. I don't know if that's like a non-entry button. I'm assuming this is clear. I'm assuming this, I mean, these are pretty self-explanatory. There's another button here that I thought would be pretty simple, but I looked up pictures of it and it almost just looks like a Monopoly house from the top. Like I might just get one of those little green Monopoly like things and just stick that there as a button. I don't know what it does. I don't know what this thing does either. Or this is probably subtotal. But that doesn't explain why I don't see a total button. And then this, I can only imagine this has to be the division, like decimal entry thing. It only goes to six. I'm only saying that because it has a division sign. At least I hope that's division, because I mean, who knows? The transfer slide is cool, though. Apparently, this thing has full register transfer. Actually, it's probably not full register transfer. I don't know what register transfer is where. I'm hoping that the output or whatever, whatever the answer term is in adding machines, gets added back into the input so I can do more operations in series. That would be really cool. And I think we got a light switch over here, but you never. Oh, maybe that's okay. Now we're doing gradient operator. Apparently, this thing can do some pretty complex vector algebra. So we're going to be doing some really cool stuff with this. There are two belts on this. There's the drive belt. There's the gear belt right here next to the V belt drive thing. Um, that would explain why this thing was so black. That and it's got the ink. It's got belt shavings everywhere. But I'm gonna go over the things the multiplier and division is doing because those are going to be the things I'll have to get working on this. I have no idea. Multiplier. I Anyway, I'll go over that here. I'm gonna have this set to this direction because I think that should just give me the answer immediately. This is supposed to. We do 125 times 8. Do it again just for fun. One more time. That's not right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can continue to hit this and it'll usually, like, it'll do the thing over and over, but I don't. This is that again. Okay, yeah. So this is just totally messed up. There's no. At least the mechanism spins and it does try to do something. I noticed that this thing has uh, a stop that doesn't allow you to enter any multiplier. So the mult2, I guess, the number you multiply by can only be, I think, 4 digits. So if I do 1, 2, 3, I can enter. Let me do this first. I can enter this whole multiplier all the way full of eights. So we got eights all the way in there. But I can't multiply by any digits more than like a 4-digit number. So if I try to do a 5-digit number, okay, I don't get this at all. Let me do a 6-digit number. Okay, it's 6 digits. This little thing fell off the little rail right there. So now, okay, you know what? Just don't listen to me at all. This thing is really not. Okay, one more time. We're gonna do this. Just I've been doing this because it seems almost like it should be doing something, but a bunch of sevens times a bunch of eights. There, it's doing the thing now. Okay, so let's see if I get rid of some of the eights. It'll do. Okay. Yep. So that's gonna be the world's biggest number. Let's go. No, it wasn't actually that big. Let's see what the total is. Yep. Okay. I don't know. I I'm at a loss for what that could even possibly be. Okay, so division only kind of works, and it seems like the more digits I give it to divide, the more likely it is to just totally poop out and give me some random answer or no answer at all. But uh, something I think it could definitely do would be 12 divided by 4. So 12, this is like the inner dividend thing. You put a 12 all the way at the end. I got to clear it. And then 4. Let's see what it does. This is the like divide button. Okay. You can see it's been going from positive to negative. Okay. Yes. I think that's kind of right. It's 3. It gave me that. I mean, it's an adding machine, so it's going to give you all these pointless decimals, and I guess with wherever the decimal's set at now, it would be 300, whatever. 0.11. I don't know where that came from. And it does a Q for quotient. That's a little Q on the end. I don't know where this 1 came from. I don't know if that's like a remainder. Um, it seems to print something out here when it's about to really mess up. Like sometimes when I do a division, it'll just have something here for like the total, and usually it's just a nonsense number. But you can see I've been doing quite a bit of testing on this with just this one paper. We're not even. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. We're almost there. Ah. All right. Yeah. So apparently I need to like rip off the paper more often. This is why I don't like these print machines mostly. It's just because I don't really care about having it print or have 1,000 miles of paper I have to throw away. Okay, so to show what this thing does with like a larger division, so I think the everyone loves the pi thing. So 355 divided by 113 is definitely not going to work, but I'll show what it does. It's making a grinding noise that it doesn't normally make when it's actually working, so I don't know why it's doing that. It almost looks like it's actually dividing properly. Like that might be 9, 2, but And then I end up with this. I don't know what this is. We got nothing for the quotient, and then it gave me 10. Sometimes it gives me 30 there. I don't know. But you can see the little divide symbol. It's got a lot of little symbols for this, so at least you kind of know it tried to do what you said you wanted it to. I'll try to do something else. Maybe like a two-digit number. Well, I gotta total it. Make sure it's not like. There's 30. There it is. Don't know where that came from. Anyway, let me do 125 divided by. Or wait, no. Let's just do 3-digit divided by a 1-digit. Maybe that'll work. The grinding noise is happening still, so I'm thinking maybe it's no good. Oh boy, is that right? I don't. Let me get my phone out. I don't know what that is. I don't think that's right. I mean, it's obviously the digits are off, but no. So that's totally wrong. It's 15.625. So that's oh ooh ooh. This is interesting. 355 divided by 113 is 3.141592920. 92920. I'm wondering if it's like not giving, like when it does the weird crappy division entry thing, it's just kind of only giving me some of the numbers and the rest of them stay in there. Maybe that's just a coincidence, but that seems like a pretty big one.
Okay, so this is the inside of the friction clutch that clears the input register. This thing I've taken apart like 3 times, and it really sucks getting it back together. This is a bad design. But anyway, this inside of it, we have a couple metal spacers, really thin, and then there's a little bit thicker spacer here that has a polished, smooth side. Because the way this thing works is there's a cork disc on the back of the little Bakelite thing, and you'd never know that was there because all you see is this with the little spring retainer clip on there, which is very hard to get on. But last time I fixed it by putting a bunch of wax, like really like permanent paste wax stuff. This is pretty good for like it doesn't really rub off very easily. It has a lot of friction, but I got some grease on it afterwards, and now it's not working properly. So this time I'm going to, I guess, replace the cork. I might just put an additional cork thing in there because I don't know. This is I hate this thing so much. If I can get this thing working though, 100% of everything else is good. It's just this stupid keyboard thing that I've probably wasted like 7 hours of my life trying to get to work properly, which is really sad when I say it out loud. But hopefully, there's only a few more that I'll have to waste with this because it's almost there. It's just this cork nonsense thing. Okay, so first thing I tried was applying a new sheet of cork to the older sheet of cork to kind of push it out a little bit. You can see the new sheet there. It was about the same thickness, so that doubled the thickness of this, which was apparently enough to make this not functional. It was pushing too hard even when it was fully open with no pressure applied to like the plate thing. So I just cut off all of that, applied a new sheet of cork here, hoping this works because taking this thing apart, I'm getting better at it because of how many times I've had to do it, but with these little spring clips and then the circlip that holds them on, getting that on there properly is not fun. But if this works, hopefully I will have like a cool little solution to these. Not sure how many calculators have this particular system, but this has been a nightmare.
Okay, I have this thing functional now. It is 99.9% functional. I guess before I go over everything, I'm going to go over the one thing that's not working just quite right, which is that when I total it, so let's say 2 plus 3, it cycles the main rotor twice when it prints the total. It doesn't actually change anything out here. That's the total. Um, but I'm giving up on that one. That's just too small of a problem for me to try and keep fixing. But everything else I think I have working. So I'll go over all these little adjustments and repairs I had to make. Okay, so one of the problems I had with division was that it would sometimes, I was every time I entered a number that was more than like 3 digits, it would just spit out the wrong answer. Um, and that I fixed by adjusting these little eccentrics on the little movable keyboard, the input register, or whatever, this thing. One of them is right here. It's held in by this standoff nut thing. And the other one is right here. It's just kind of held in by a screw. And you can rotate these. There's a little slot so you can stick a screwdriver in to turn them. If both of these are turned counterclockwise, in my case, enough to push too far into this bar thing, this won't be able to move. So right now, mine's pretty loose. I mean, they're not contacting the bar while it's moving. I was tightening it down because I was trying to fix the slippage issue, but these need to be just in the right spot, both of them, to where when you're entering numbers, it still moves. Like in my case with them too tight, this just was immobile. You couldn't move it, clearing it, couldn't enter numbers. When it's too loose, which is what was originally happening, it fails doing division. So I'll show what that does. It's pretty weird. So let me total this thing out. There we go. So I have 0 in there. You get the light. Okay. So to do like an example, let's do a large number, like pi. So this kind of shakes around a bit when it's indexing and when it's whatever, the racks are contacting the thing. But I was finding that right about here, I guess, or maybe the third or fourth digit, it was bouncing enough to slip either out of the racks or it would slip to the next digit. And I wasn't noticing it because I was never watching this thing move. And when it slips, it's totally wrong. It's going to spit out the wrong number. Now it is spitting out the right number, 3.141592920, and then the little quotient down there, or sorry, the remainder. Found out that's the remainder. So when it was just putting just the remainder, that's what that was doing. But anyway, that was the fix I had for the division not calculating properly. Okay, so the issue I was having with multiplication was that when I would hit, uh, or I'd enter a multiplier and I would try to multiply and I would hit the equals button, and the first time I pressed it, it would not multiply, and it would usually like move the rotor slightly. And I hit it again and it would multiply, but it would give me the wrong answer. And this is kind of a weird fix, but I'll show what was not happening. There is a little latch that releases the rotor shaft. I'll go ahead and trigger it here. Need some more light. So you can see this little lug thing with a spring attached, and I'm going to go ahead and push it down. Yep. Okay, so I pushed it down and the rotor was released. It went all the way to the other side. I'll go ahead and put it back. But I found that if I held this little lip down just slightly with a screwdriver and did multiplication, it would work. But that's not a permanent solution because holding this down with a screwdriver also causes division to not function. So I followed the linkage and I found this thing on the side that I don't know why this works. This thing has kind of been, it seems like it's got demons to me, honestly, but I just removed this spring. I just removed it. So it's attached to this disc and it used to be attached to this lever right here. So you can see the little hole on the lever. So this lever should be held back by the spring. And to show that that's the problem, I'm going to go ahead and do a multiplication again, but I'm going to hold the lever forward with like a little, this thing. I'm going to hold it back where the spring would. I'm not going to push on it really hard, just enough to like give it a little bit of spring, whatever, and do another multiplication. And it didn't work. Second time it works though. Problem is, that's garbage. That's not the right answer. I don't even know what that is. So far, I have had this lever removed for, I don't know, maybe a week. And I'll probably, before I put it back in the case, like just, I don't know, put some like thread locker on this, somehow fix this back because it never ever needs to move. This is, I don't know what the deal with this design is. I don't know what this was supposed to do, but I cannot find anything that this being forward or whatever, the spring being detached, this lever being fixed is causing any other problems. So weird little thing I did, but it does seem to work. So hopefully that helps somebody because that was something that you don't do that. That's not that's not how these work. I don't know how many springs I've reattached or installed stronger springs to fix something, but I've never just removed one and had it actually fix the problem. Okay, so by far the worst, most frustrating, terrible part about fixing this thing was the little friction clutch for clearing the keyboard or the, input register. So I think when I first got this thing, and I think of the previous videos I took, the entry wasn't clearing ever unless I like cleared it with the clear button. So I mean that it's supposed to clear. Obviously, I was totally wrong in the beginning. Um, Fixing this. Okay, so the first adjustment that's really just obvious is that there's this little square nut right here, and if you loosen or tighten the square nut, you can adjust how much pre-tension, I guess, this has on the little post thing or shaft that's going through this little clutch housing. So when this thing clears, I'm gonna just go ahead and clear it. Holding this down, the little lever pushes on that, which contacts the two plates, faces of the clutch, and pushes the rotor over, or the sliding thing. You can actually see there's a little gear right here that is meshed with something inside here. I think there's, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of a lead screw in here. There's something in there that when the clutch is contacted and this can rotate, it will turn. And then there's this little leaf spring right here, I guess, to assist with clearing it. But one of the biggest issues I had with this was that I could get it to where it seemed like it would mostly work, but I had a lot of odd issues that didn't seem like they were related to the clutch, but they ended up being entirely clutch problems. One of them was that, I mean, obvious one would be I would enter a long series of numbers and then add, and it would clear some of them. Sometimes it would clear all the way almost to the end, but not quite. And that, that's just annoying. It's not like a, it won't not prevent me from doing anything as long as I cleared it. But one of the things was when you enter a dividend or you divide, this first has to slide all the way to the left, and it has to slide pretty fast or pretty hard because when it hits the end, it has to trigger something that will allow the division to start or the dividend to enter. So I would do this, but it wouldn't slide fast enough, wouldn't slide hard enough, and nothing would happen. And getting this to clear really sucks. You have to get it to do a division somehow and then hit a stop division, or else it will never print anything. But that problem also ended up being the clutch. Oh, let's see. Not being able to enter numbers. I mean, so there's the two eccentrics on this, but there's also, if this clutch is blown out, like was in my case, I would tighten this tighter and tighter. And the idea with this screw, or sorry, not this, the square nut here. The idea with this is that there's got to be a sweet spot somewhere where you'll be able to enter a number. If it's too loose and you add something, this just won't clear at all. And if it's really, really loose, you won't be able to clear it with the clear button either. If it's too tight, then you won't be able to enter numbers. It'll not, just like if these eccentrics are too tight, this won't slide at all. But in my case, there was no sweet spot. There was no position on this to where this thing would clear properly and enter properly and divide properly. And I had to rebuild the clutch a few times. I took some videos of that, but replacing the original cork on there with the little cork I put on there did eventually solve the problem. I had gotten it working at one point, and I got oil inside of that, and that totally messed it up. So I'm going to try to not lubricate this at all anymore, because if I get any more lubricant on this or anywhere near here, I'll have to rebuild this again. And I'm really hoping that this lasts at least a little bit. I mean, this design with the cork friction clutch thing is just not great, but I was able to get it working eventually.
Okay, one more repair I had to do. This enter dividend button was sticking. And I mean, it wasn't really the button. There is a pawl that juts out and holds this down. And it releases when the input register slides all the way to the left hard enough to release everything. And there's probably a million things wrong that are causing that to not work. But my solution was just to install another spring on the button itself. So now I have this additional spring. I think this is the older spring behind it. So now it's like 3 times harder to press this button, but it does release. So I'm pretty sure, hopefully that's the last one, because I was like halfway through filming how to use this thing.
Let's take a moment to experience this calculator. Every time I see this calculator, it brings a tear to my eye. Truly, this is one of the calculators of all time. It insists upon itself. I emailed Monroe to see if I could get an English user manual for this, because all I've got is the German one, which actually is fine, really, because Everything is very well illustrated. It literally shows you exactly what prints out on the paper, so you know whether it's working or not. And I mean, everyone can understand what they're trying to do here. You don't need to have it in English. The only problem is that I don't know the names of these things, all of these buttons and levers, except for in German. And most of English speaking YouTube videos I see, people are usually very apologetic about how they pronounce things that aren't in English. Like people say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I'm totally butchering this," but I'm not sorry. I'm not going to apologize for this at all. So let's all learn about the Rückübertragungshebel and the Stellenzeiger and the Walzendrehknopf. Okay, so the adding machine functions on this are pretty standard. I went ahead and replaced this little quotation mark button, the repetitions tosta, with this little R button because it's just for repeat. But if I want to hold that down, I can do multiple add, multiple subtract. We used to do the old form of multiplication, but that's kind of pointless because we have the automatic multiplication stuff over here. But this is going to be the subtotal button, which in this case, was 0 because I accidentally added and subtracted the same amount of stuff. But do that again. $12 plus $9. Subtotal $21. And I could do $5 times 3. Add that in. And then do the total. It's $36. The only other adding machine function here is no add, which is just like, okay, I want to have number 44 section on the receipt. I can have that print off, and it's not going to affect the total at all. Okay, so division is pretty simple except for pointing off the decimal. So just to quickly go over the functions here, this enters a dividend. This actually does a division. This will decide how many decimals of division you want. And this is pretty useful because when this thing runs at 200 RPM, having to wait for it to do all 10 digits is going to take quite a while. That's what the division symbol setting right here will go all the way through. 3 will only do 3 digits and then basically do a division stop. But to demonstrate the pointing off the decimal, I'll just do pi because that's pretty easy to recognize. 355 divided by 113. So in this case, we're doing all 10 digits, so it's going to take a little bit. But we're going to get to it. Okay. So it automatically puts the decimals wherever it prints decimals all the time. Like all the numbers physically have decimal places on them that need decimals, basically. So that column of numbers has decimals, this column does. But you basically ignore those and you count the number of digits that the divisor has before the decimal point. So 113 has 3, and you subtract 1. So that's going to be 2. And then you go up to the dividend, move to the left however many digits that is. So in this case 2, and then go vertically downward to the quotient. So that's where the actual decimal place should be, which is 3.141592920. And then you have the quotient, the remainder if you wanted to continue doing more divisions at 200 RPM. Okay, so multiplication on this is really very advanced for even mechanical calculators. I think I only have one machine that does as much as this does, especially with the transfer. But everything multiplication related is green on this. So this is enter multiplier, perform multiplication, kind of like enter dividend, perform division. This slide over here is basically like total, subtotal for multiplication, and this is the transfer slide. So to show this little slider over here, let's say I have a total of $12 in the main register. So subtotal is 12, and I wanted to add 6 times $9. So that was a lot faster than division. But I subtotal that. Now I have $66. So this will allow you to do multiple add much faster, multiple subtract. You can do the same thing with multiple subtractions if you hit subtract first. So see, subtotal is 66. I want to do minus 5, so I just do minus 4 times $3. Total base. So this is cool because it'll print off, okay, so that's negative 12, and then it gives you the total. Yes, the subtotal. I'll go ahead and total it out. The other setting on this slider is like the multiplication total. Basically, because this thing has an entirely separate mechanism for multiplication, this slider is basically like, hey, you just want to do a multiplication and then get back to whatever you were doing. So let's say I have like a bunch of stuff in here that I don't want to lose already, and I just want to, for some reason, do 5 times 7. If I have it set over here and I do 5 times 7, so it gave me 35, but if I do the subtotal, it's kept it the same as it was before. So this is different from division. If you tried to do this with division, it would add the quotient to your total, so you wouldn't be able to do this. So the transfer slide on this is pretty interesting. Basically what this will do is take whatever is being printed in a subtotal, total, or answer for multiplication and put it into the input multiplier register. So it's like the little rotor pinwheel thing. So if I have, let's say, 12, subtotal is 41 right now. If I wanted to add 41 times 2, I would do transfer subtotal times 2 and do the subtotal again. So that took my 41, and I took 41 and multiplied it by 2 and added it back to the total. So now I've got 123. That also works with totaling, but I think the cool part is that when it works with multiplication, you can do successive multiplications, which is something that like 99% of machines can't do. So if I want to do 2 times 3 times 5, I do 2 times 3, slide the transfer, times 5, I would get 30, because it's 6 times 5. And in this case, I have the slider over here, so it's still going to be 30. This will work even if the slider is set to the little diamond like subtotal thing. Even though it was set to diamond, if you do a transfer for multiplication, it will still print the like asterisk total multiplication symbol. It kind of like overrides this slide, but puts it back when it's done. Okay, so one thing about this machine is it has a 16-digit printer, I guess a 16-digit main register. So I'm using 3-inch adding machine paper. I had a lot of 2¼ inch, but it wasn't long enough to get all of those digits. And that can be a problem when you're doing multiplication transfer, as like a whatever brute force demonstration of this. This is I did 2 to the 34th just by doing 2 times 2 transfer, and I just did back transfer all the way through until this. This is 2 to the 34th, which is 171. It's huge, but this is an 11-digit number. The multiplier, the keyboard input, it's all 10-digit input. So when I transferred that in and multiplied by 2, I got this, which is not 2 to the 35th. It just took the last 10 digits and omitted the 1 on the end. So that's probably not, I mean, no one's going to be doing 2 to the 34th or 35th on this, but because it has 16 digits here, you cannot just keep transferring forever. I think that's pretty cool, though, that we can do that, and it actually accurately calculated 2 to the 34th without skipping any digits. Okay, so I think maybe doing 2 to the 34th might have made this thing angry. So to try and appease it, I'm just going to do the last example from the little user manual thing here. So this shows that you can do a bunch of stuff, in this case addition, subtraction, and then divide at the end. Nachfolgender division. So you can see that they are adding zeros to the end, and that's because if they don't add zeros here, it actually will give you like 1 digit for division, and it's just not very useful. But I'm going to do exactly what they do. 25, oops, 2500. Let me make sure this is total. Okay, 2500 plus 1700 minus 1200. And now we're going to divide by 6. It also, I think, at some point says, yep, automatic division stop auf division. So we got to put that over here. And I'm going to hit divide. Now, we didn't enter a dividend all the way on the left side, so it's not going to have that many digits. But let's do that. What are we dividing by? 6. So it doesn't print leading zeros, which is nice. We've got a leading here. Okay. So we add those numbers, subtract 12, and divide by 6. We have a quotient of 5. And they were very clever here. They didn't have anything in the remainder, because if you didn't have 5, let's say we wanted to do 14, or actually, total. Let's do 15 plus 7. So we got 22. I'm going to divide that by 3. Okay, so in this case we have 7 with remainder 1. So I guess that's technically true. It's just not very useful. Like, I'm definitely going to have to do another division with that. I could have told you that. But anyway, I think that's about all I'm going to demonstrate with this. I'm going to post or I'm going to add links to this, and hopefully if Monroe gets back to me with some kind of English manual, I'll try to find a way to upload that as well.